Author of the book John Panela. Extract from Legacy of the Gods. The Great War in Heaven. To begin, it is imperative we start before the beginning of time itself. At one time or another most have heard about the proverbial Great War in Heaven. Many cultures speak of it in their own language and tongue. Many speak of a time where planets and even galaxies were torn apart, where worlds were destroyed, and even stars were thrown out of kilter. We even see the remnants of such a war inside our own solar system, with rogue meteors as well as the great asteroid belt. Others speak of a great angelic war, where Satan and his angels fought against Michael and his angels. Yet I ask, was this event accurately portrayed to us? Have we been told the truth? No matter how you cut it, it is a symbolic history filled with wonder and awe. Even stories like Star Wars were created to reveal a catastrophic pattern of events that had occurred. And yet in time it has always been symbolized as good versus evil, where it seems that good is always triumphant. I have taken the great task to even dare to challenge the accepted norm, while seeking a greater understanding of who we all are and what may have occurred from before the foundations of this universe and from beyond. My theory comes from multiple sources, including some of the amazing secrets I have uncovered from our history and writings. But more than that, I have been led to comprehend some of the deeper mysteries from the spirit of the Father and Mother. As we begin to unravel more mysteries, there is very little doubt that Earth is made up of many species of humanoid-type entities. We even call other cultures alien. And there is good reason for this. Some cultures even reveal their past as connected to worlds far away, such as the Dogon tribes, who believe their world was based on the twin stars, called the Dog Star or Sirius. Still, we have heard about other cultures and alien tribes who have migrated or somehow been sent to Earth. The aliens came in all shapes and forms. I will begin to formulate how all of this occurred. Also, there are multiple historical accounts as well as biblical stories speaking of the Great War in Heaven as Satan and his angels fighting against Michael and his angels. Some of the stories revealed that Michael prevailed and sent Satan cascading down to Earth to become a prisoner. Along with his followers. I have been going over this scenario in my mind for over 50 years and trying to find any sort of connection to this theory that makes better sense from the indoctrination we were given, based upon the interaction of ideas, models, summaries and philosophies. People that know me realize I left the think tanks long ago and I do not participate in any group, sect, religion or a controlled agenda. I seek only for the truth from the Father and then share as I am able. I am my own person that goes directly to the Father and Mother that Jesus Christ spoke of, and I receive my spiritual guidance there. It is obvious that what I have written does not compare to other works, and it is quite unique. I realize as a human I can err and make mistakes, even when I am trying to understand what the Father is teaching me. Nevertheless, no matter what, I have always been consistent to honor and follow my divine parents as best as I can and then share that revelation with anyone who dares to seek after the same spirit, even if it contradicts every academia in this world. As I began gathering more information as the Father's Spirit was guiding me, I had to perform the most difficult task of all, and that was questioning the official story we have been handed down. I began to look at the fruits of this so-called Great War in Heaven, and the results do not add up. I started asking myself, what if the story that Satan lost this war was not completely accurate? What if the bad guys were victorious? What would the outcome be if this story was not as we have been led to believe? And those who sided with the ideology of benevolence were overthrown and defeated. How would this picture look today? We know one thing about war in general. All wars are fought to declare a winner. The benefit of winning a war allows one to conquer, infiltrate, and integrate, and most importantly to take unto itself the spoils of war as well as the prisoners. Normally you do not hear about the losers being granted the spoils of war and receiving the prisoners. It doesn't work that way. More importantly, why would the father ever enter a volley of war in the first place? Let that sink in before you move forward. Why would the father ever need to stoop as low as entering a war? Even if it was just using his angels, there would be no need for war. War is from the realm of the fallen angels. Nothing in the Father's realm could inherently allow for war to ever foment. Reason being, war is for those who are no longer living in pure spirit energy. It is for something that has deteriorated, where one can be affected by instruments of violence. As we dig deeper, I would think when looking upon Earth, that this world was a great spoil of war. I would not look at Earth as a prison planet to the victors, but to those that were defeated. Any place can become a prison. In Star Trek, they showed a type of a prison planet or an asteroid colony. I believe was called Pent. This was a barren, cold, desolate place where you couldn't even live on the surface, or else one would freeze to death in seconds. In a sense, a legitimate hell. Earth, on the other hand, was in type a paradise, a Garden of Eden. It was amazingly beautiful, having all sorts of bounty to offer any ruler or conqueror, at least of the flesh. Spirit would not need anything like a material, third-dimensional Earth. However, we have been led to believe that Earth was a prison for Satan and his followers. And yet we fail to ask the all-encompassing questions. How can anything material be a prison for spirits? We must follow through with these questions. If this was the case, and the bad guys lost, then what are we? As humanity, doing here? As the true children of the Father and Mother, which have been held under the subjection of a very demonic cabal. Why are we here? Didn't our Father win the war in heaven? Then why were placed upon the same planet that Satan and his followers were cast unto? Let's be honest, if the demon warlords were sentenced here, then what is our excuse? How did the losers gain so much power and How did they receive these spoils of war? And yet we must contemplate this even further. If Earth was their prison, then why is it that the prisoners seem to be controlling the planet and the supposed victors are all in its subjugation? We need to further explore these questions. Did Lucifer really lose the great war in heaven? Or is this a pent for the children of the Father? And why does it appear that and his angels have full right, reign and power to rule here and maybe vast places also in the netherworld and outer regions? Is this too hard to fathom? Why did Satan ask Christ to go before him and Satan would give him all the kingdoms of this world? And why didn't Christ correct him and tell this abaddon of evil to stand down and honor the true rightful conqueror of this war? Which was Christ under the power of Michael? Where did Satan get the authority to speak down to the Christ? And if Christ was part of the victory team, why is he having to sacrifice everything to regain his authority and kingship? If he won the war, Christ revealed to us that evil rules this world under the prince and power of the air, known as the God of this world, as Satan. How did this happen if we won the war in heaven? Why are the prisoners operating as the sentries in this prison? When you look at the fruits of victory of any war, the winners are the ones who call the shots. Normally when prisoners are taken, guards from those who were on the victory team are sent to watch over the defeated, and those that lost the war become the slaves of the victors, held in chains and in bondage. The slave workers are always integrated into the new mindset of the victors. In any war the conquerors rule over the prison camp, not the other way around. And certainly the rebels do not get the loot. Something is wrong with this picture. Is it not? Now let's backtrack a little and try to figure this out. There is a war in the heavens. Great destruction has been unfolded upon the planets and maybe even other galaxies. Now we are told Michael and his angels, obviously referring to as a battle regiment, stood up against Satan, and Michael defeated Satan and his army of angels. Satan was then cast down to earth and supposedly has been here ever since. Here we have per our vast religious knowledge of ancient events, where spirit beings are engaged in an all-out war. Then how does one lose? How can one be defeated? What weapons could there be to harm spirit beings? It sounds to me like it was a war. A real battle, with both teams having their regiments and trained warriors. Did they have flying ships? Were they launching missiles at one another? What exactly was occurring to where one could lose and then simply be sent to a third-dimensional planet, where it becomes a prison for higher dimensional entities? Now Michael is obviously the angel working for the good side, because he defeated Satan. He must be one of us, right? Well, that is what it appears that we are to assume. Let us take this journey into the light, by recreating the war using different tangibles. Why am I doing this? Well, obviously, we are having to accept that what we were taught about this war is legitimate. However, I have already brought out a few conundrums to reveal something ain't kosher here. We are to assume Satan was in a war with Michael. We are to assume both were angels of God. But Satan fell from grace. We are to assume that the rebellion of Satan was rectified in the heavens. And then he was cast to the earth. Sounds simple on paper, doesn't it? We are then to assume that Satan, who had been defeated, met the Christ on earth, and Christ was the Son of God. And that Christ had full power and authority, simply because he is the Son of God. Which obviously outtrumps any meager angel right. And yet the pages of the Bible seem to reveal a completely different discourse of events. The reality I read in the Bible is that Christ was under the authority and power of Satan. Christ was under the supervision of the God of this world, which he plainly revealed was not the Father. Satan then holding all the cards, asked Christ, "If you would bow down before me, I will give you all the kingdoms of this world." Wait a second, stop the presses. Satan is the prisoner. Michael defeated his us in the heavens and sent him here to be locked in prison. This is very strange. How did Satan become the ruler over this earth if this was his prison due to losing the war in heaven? However, since the war, it appears Satan is reigning over this planet and is not subjected to anyone. Then where does this place the children of the Father in relation to this conclusion? It is time that the answers begin to come forward from the Spirit of the true Father, and then we will have the puzzle pieces to put this entire picture back together with a whole new production and cast of characters. Are you ready? In the great war in heaven, Satan was not in battle with Christ or the Father. Satan was in battle with Lucifer. Wait a minute. Hold your horses. This can't be right. Lucifer is Satan, isn't he? Forgive me for letting the mystery sneak out of the esoteric. But Lucifer and Satan are two separate entities and yet are mystically the same. In the beginning, when the angels were created, they were created androgynous, meaning they had the characteristics of both male and female. This is not strange, it is due to the perfection in spirit. When the Father through the Christ designed children, he created beings likened unto himself. The Father was not just the Father, he was also the Mother. The Father via Christ created everything whole and complete. There was nothing lacking in their creation. The angels had also been created male and female in characteristics. They could appear as male or female or both at any given time and become the proper representation of that specific gender awareness. We also, as the divine children of the Father and Mother, were created androgynous. There is no marriage in the kingdom of the Father. There doesn't need to be, because we were already whole and complete. However, there was problem when we fell into the duality world of good and evil, where everything was divided and split in two. All things were separated into a polarization of itself. When we came here, we lost our other half because it was separated via the avatar bodies we were given to interact with in the world of the matrix, or what is called the matrical birthing process. We lost part of our awareness, and to become whole again, we were given a pseudo-elixir in what was called earthly marriage. It is when a male and a female are brought together to create the missing part in all of us, to bring together what we were told was our complete and entire self. It was a lie. It could not repair the separation that occurred in our soul. The reason is, the soul is not divided. Only the illusion that the soul goes through while living in the matrix creates the appearance of division and separation. What occurred is that our soul was being projected into two different avatar bodies, male and female, creating the illusion we are separated, and thus being separated. We need to access our other half to make us whole again. However, if marriage was bringing the twin souls back together, then there would be marriage in the Father's kingdom. But there is not. In the Father's kingdom, there is no separation or division. All is whole and complete. Therefore, two separate souls cannot align together properly to integrate both into one, because each soul is still part of the complete soul in perfection. Only by delusion and illusion does the soul feel it is divided due to the fig leaf avatar bodies that we wear, called the covering veil, or the computerized program. It is for this reason that human marriages often have more battle and disconnect than a union of the twin souls. Marriage can be a blessing when you find someone who is well suited or compatible. One may even find their segmented other half. But it can be a horrible curse if you find a soul where there is little to no compatibility. Especially if one is united with a soulless being or a programmed avatar. Read my series of books called The Time Loop Chronicles. A faulty marriage is like grinding your fingernails upon a chalkboard to be united with an incompatible other half. Now that we have established that spirits are already complete upon creation, it is time we address the problem of our fall into the matrix world of illusion. Lucifer created this realm of polarity where everything is the opposite. Everything is divided, separated, disconnected and detached. This same separation also occurred within himself. If he was going to be the God of both good and evil, he needed to separate himself to foster off this illusion. He needed to split in two, as if he was becoming twins of himself. But not twins, but polarity twins or opposites. Like the polarity of a battery, he became both God and devil. Wherewith he was both good and evil or positive and negative. Just like the two trees that were offered. They are family trees. One of the father and mother and their children through Christ. And the other of the fallen angels and their children through deception. Lucifer was able to do this by using the fourth dimension as the positive charge linked with the third dimension as the negative charge. He became spirit and matter linked together. Or another way to view this is the projector and the projection. Therefore, Lucifer and Satan are one and the same, but are separated as a polarity or as a duality god. One reigning in the fourth dimension in the invisible realm, called the heavens, and the other reigning in the third dimension, called earth. Lucifer is the female half of the spirit, and Satan is the male half. They work together to keep the charge flowing between positive and negative, and that is how this realm is being controlled. By the knowledge of the tree of positive and negative flowing energy. The fourth dimension is the holographic projector sending the projection into the third dimension. The material matrix world is a projection or offshoot of the fourth dimension. The Great War in heaven was about the fourth dimension being separated from the third as two polarity halves. It was when the matrix of duality was created. It was then Lucifer went into a battle with his other half. Lucifer's angels fought against Satan and his angels. Meaning the polarity gods went to war with each other. It stated that Michael and his angels fought against Satan and his angels. The first lesson you will learn in this book and with all my work is that the Father has nothing to do with this lower realm. He does not go to war, he is not involved in violence in any way, shape or form. It is not part of the fruits of the Spirit to actuate strife, wrath, war and battle. Secondly, if the Father was involved, there would be no war of any kind. All he would have to do is speak it, and the results would be final. The war in heaven was a carnal war of lust, desire, wrath, power, jealousy, rage and death. It is called the fruits of conflict. The war in heaven was the separation of the twin powers of good and evil, God and devil. It is how Lucifer began his illusory matrix world of absolute control. It is the beginning of the upper gods and the lower gods. It is when the separation occurred between the watchers and the demons. It is how the dimensions were separated between the fourth higher dimension and the third lower dimension. It was the illusion of separation between the soul and the body. Therefore, Lucifer defeated his polarity twin Satan and sent him into the third dimension to become the polarity charge between them both. Satan the god of the third dimension and Lucifer the god of the fourth dimension. And Lucifer has the greater power and authority. The question is, if Lucifer won this war, why not tell us? Well, for one thing, it is because they can't. The entire operation of what is happening has always had to remain stealth for good reason. If we were told that we were being ruled by Lucifer and that the Great War was a war between the gods, then no one would have any excuse to not recognize the truth. We would know who the victors were versus the losers. And then humanity could call upon the real powers from within or without to help us. Or at least realize we need help beyond this corrupted realm. The reality of this war was all based in deception. The ones cast down to this world would be those who are calling the shots and ruling the earthly kingdom, sitting in the government seats of power as well as royalty. The losers would be those who were bred to become slaves to this kingdom, to obey and follow orders and to become integrated into the mindset of the victors. It was imperative to make sure the prisoners did not know they were prisoners, allowing them to believe they were part of the victory team. This way the prisoners would follow the God who was victorious and would proclaim obedience to the victory team and damn the loser, never knowing they were being conned, and had become part of the illusory deception. The entire world could be controlled under the guise of good and evil fighting each other, but always believing the good guys won and all will win again, while in truth, they are nothing but fuel for the fodder of the great deception of the war in heaven.